Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Estate Right Now. We talk about real estate matters that matter to you. My name is Jay Izzo, and we are live here from Linden Craft Team Studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of the Greater Research Triangle Park. Today's show. Closings in North Carolina are a bit unique if you come from another state or if you've never closed before and it's your first house. You kind of don't know what to expect in the closing. Well, we needed to have an expert come in and talk about that. And we've had some attorneys come in here before and talk about different aspects. But I thought it would be really cool to bring in Cara Gibbons, who is a closing attorney. And also, you're the manager for Sterling Law in tell. But things have changed in North Carolina when it comes to due diligence and how due diligence works. And, you know, we close here in North Carolina with attorneys, and that may be very unique to you. So we're going to talk through some things. You're free to ask us any question that you want to. You can just pop it in and we'll throw those questions in as well. So first, let me just say, Cara Gibbons, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. We are a unique state.
Yes.
Are we not?
Yes, North Carolina definitely is.
Yeah, and we close a little different because we use attorneys.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily what many, if not most all states do.
Yes.
So maybe we should start there so that people can get prepared as they're moving it. Because we do have a lot of people that move into our Research Triangle Park
area. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
That come out of state.
Yeah.
And for a variety of reasons that, you know, they like the area. But then we have what's called halfbacks. People who go to Florida.
That phrase, yeah. Yeah. From New York all the way down to Florida.
And then to come back halfway back. And so they're not used to the process here. So why don't we just start there? The difference between most states and what we do here. What's really unique about the closing process?
Yeah, North Carolina is definitely very unique. When I was in law school, you learn everything. And North Carolina was always the minority state. It was like the general rule and then the minority. And it was that way with a lot of different variations of the types of law. So family law, real estate law, everything like that. So real estate specifically, we are an attorney state when it comes to real estate closings. What that means is that you may, if you closed in another state, you may have closed with a title company or a settlement agent. And that's fine. That's just different. So here in North Carolina, it's the unauthorized practice of law to close a loan and close on a transaction without an attorney. So I love it because it keeps me employed and it makes me continue to be able to do what I like to do. And it's a good thing, in my opinion, because you are making the biggest financial transaction of maybe your entire life when you buy a house.
Sure.
And you should have somebody in your corner who's advocating for you, who is reviewing the contract, who is reviewing the loan terms and everything, because you're spending a lot of money. And as a consumer, you should also want your money to go somewhere that you trust, like an attorney trust account, for then me to disperse the funds. So it makes it more secure. It makes the client have an advocate in their corner. And I call real estate law happy law because I don't sue anybody. So it's a nice thing for me too, is that we're all typically on the same team. The seller wants to sell, buyer wants to buy, and we all want to get to the closing table together.
So one of the questions that I know people will ask is, well, who chooses the attorney?
So the buyer does. So in North Carolina, so the buyer chooses the attorney, but the seller has every ability to have their own representation. So the seller, they can have their own attorney represent them, or they can utilize the buyer's attorney to have a limited representation, which is solely just to prepare their conveyance documents. So as a seller, you really just have to provide the conveyance documents. Unless I typically see sellers, unless there's some sort of conflicts between them and the buyers, they typically choose the path of least resistance, which is choosing the buyer's attorney to prepare their documents. In my opinion, I think it's better if you're a seller and you have your own advocate and you have your own attorney to prepare the documents. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And it should be, I think, encouraged more, but the buyer's attorney is the one who closes the deal. So everything's going to run through their attorney's trust account and office when it comes to the closing.
How often do you see a seller have representation, a percentage wise, if you could make a guess?
Almost 50%, if not a
Really?
little bit more. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I prepare a lot of the agents I work with consistently. They refer their buyers to
Right.
me, but then they enjoy my company, so they send their sellers to me too, which I love it.
Okay, so I didn't think it was going to be that high.
Really?
No. I thought maybe you were going to say something like maybe 10% or
Yeah.
something, but 50%.
About 50%. I would say definitely if you are closing near the sandhills like Pinehurst, Southern Pines,
Right.
it's almost 100% of the time the seller has their own. Yeah. And the Pinehurst and Southern Pine attorneys sometimes are difficult to work with. So,
Okay. Okay.
super fun time.
Okay, super. Well, you have a very different definition of fun, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, different parts of North Carolina, we all practice the same way. It's just different parts have different norms. So
Right.
definitely down in the Sandhills, that's the norm, is buyer and seller, different representation. You can't talk to each other's people,
Right.
whole thing. I would say it's almost similar to that a little bit too in the mountains. But if you're going to close here in the Triangle area or at the beach, you tend to just see what we're accustomed to here, which is buyer's attorney handles most of it.
When we go to closing, does the seller have to be at closing?
No, and we don't want the seller to be at the closing table. So the laws changed a few years ago when the TRID laws came to where it's the buyer's private financial information. So the seller can't be there and look at their stuff or hear
Okay.
their stuff. So that was honestly great in my opinion when
Right.
it was like kind of a forced separation,
Right.
because there were so many times early in my career that everybody was at the table together, because
Yeah,
that was what
no.
it was years ago.
It was when I started in real
Yeah.
estate back in the late 90s. So I
Yeah.
remember.
But then for someone like me walking in the room, like, hey guys, it's closing day, let's go. And then sit down and you could cut the tension with a knife. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't know we all hated each other. So
Right.
no one like gave me the heads up. So it's nice now that it's separate. We
Yeah.
highly encourage sellers to sign a week, 2 weeks ahead of time,
Right.
get it out of the way, get it off of your plate, because the only thing left after they sign their conveyance documents that need notarized
Right.
is their settlement statement, which can be e-signed. So that makes it very easy. We try to make it for sellers. Get in early, get out, and then that way we can focus solely on the buyer on closing day.
So we the markets undergo shift, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
when it was during COVID, right? I mean, you'd see 30 cars in front of one house that people were trying to buy,
It was
right?
the wild, wild west.
It was
Yeah.
really the wild, wild west, right? And we saw due diligence. And for people who don't know about due diligence, we have a due diligence fee in addition to our earnest money. Thank you. I don't know why I blanked on that. I shouldn't have, but I did. In addition to the earnest money, and you pay that up front, and that's money you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm. It's completely non-refundable. There's very limited circumstances when it's refundable.
Right.
And we encourage people not to even bring that up as a possibility, because it's
Right.
so rare that you can get it back.
Yeah. So we just say, it's money you're going to put money down that you're going to lose if you're going to purchase a house, which is very, very different. And people can get upset, because certain things happen between the due diligence period and closing. And some people can get a little bit frustrated with that. But it's a good thing because it helps. But we've seen a difference in due diligence.
Yes, definitely.
From COVID to now.
For sure.
When we were COVID, right? I mean, there were times, depending on the house, we'd see six figures as a dude, like you were willing to lose.
It would make me sick when I would get contracts like that.
Yeah. Where you'd see $100,000 on a due diligence. Not so much today.
Not so much. Honestly, it's a very good thing in my opinion. The due diligence fee, it was a bargaining chip, and it was an easy bargaining chip because it, like you said, it's non-refundable.
Right.
It shows as a buyer how serious you are. So that's why that was what people leaned into in the COVID times when there was multiple offers, a million people seeing the house, day one going on the market, you had a line out the door, 30 cars deep. So the market was just that. It was just the nature of the market, and it was an easy thing for people to grab onto as that bargaining chip to show seriousness, because it's money immediately in the seller's pocket. So day one, you're under contract and you got 30K. As the seller, you're living large. You're happy. You know that you never have to give that back, close or not close.
Right.
So now it is definitely swung in the other direction. That was when it was a pure seller's market. I wouldn't say we're swung all the way into the side of a buyer's market. We're getting to more of an even market right now, but due diligence numbers are definitely down, which is a good thing. I mean, essentially the whole point of due diligence in North Carolina, and I'll say this because it's hard when you're buying from out of state and you especially bought in another state before, to wrap your head around the concept.
Yeah.
The concept was purely to give the seller some sort of compensation for taking the house off the market and allowing you to come in and do some inspections. Because before that, in other states that only have earnest money, that is 100% refundable if the buyer backs out. What does the seller get for taking the house off the market, opening their doors to them, and letting them play around for 2 weeks?
Right.
So the due diligence fee should be something that compensates the seller, that if after those 2 weeks of inspections, the buyer's like, no thanks, they get some sort of money in their pocket. It used to be a nominal thing. Everybody tended to put $500 if the house was like below $250, and then $1,000 if it was like above $500. Like, you saw the same numbers.
Right.
Now, like you said, in the COVID times, it was just stupid high.
Right.
Now I'm seeing it more of like $2,500, $5,000, enough to show you're serious, put little teeth in it, but not so much that if you get the home inspection report back and you're not happy, that you're willing to lose that money. So I've been calling the last probably 9 months termination city. We're seeing a lot more terminations than we would have before.
Really?
And it's tough on all the parties because it gets hot. The buyer never is forced to buy the house, but when the contract terminates, it frustrates the seller. It frustrates the agent sometimes because you put in a lot of effort. Then you have to put the house back on the market. But people are willing to walk away from $2,000 if they didn't like the inspection or they found a house they liked better. So it's that kind of difference in the pendulum of the market when you go to a buyer's side.
So you said termination city, which is an interesting phrasing of it, quote unquote, termination city. What percentage of contracts that you're running across are we seeing terminate?
I would say in the summertime, I had up to 15% of deals, which is a high number. Like out of 115 in 1 month, like it felt like a lot. And when then people who maybe an agent who doesn't do a significant high volume, they're like, this is just so weird. I've never had a client terminate my career. And I was like, well, lucky you. I had 15 last week. Like, it's crazy.
So what is the most common reason that we see termination? Do you find a reason that you've run across?
I really think it's the inspection. I think that we're still in a very higher priced market, that inflation and all of the things. So when people are feeling like they're spending more for the house than they should be already, and then they get the inspection report, it's buyer's remorse. So people just are like, I was already at the highest end of my budget, and now I feel like I have to make all of these repairs. And it's one of those mindsets that if the seller is willing to help, like give some credits towards repairs or whatever, I'm seeing the transactions move forward better. But we are still in that mindset. A lot of sellers are in the mindset of what it was like 4 years ago when you didn't have to do anything. Like they had $30K on the line. It didn't matter what that inspection report said. They were buying it regardless. So we just need to be in a more collaborative market as opposed to that. I called it preschool market. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. This is here you go.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that that the inspection report, it's been a common thing, by the way, a common theme that inspection reports have been a source of contention for buyers and even for sellers, right? Because sometimes sellers don't want to make repairs because we are an as-is state. But we ask for repairs, and of course the seller can refuse to do anything. They can also do something. And it depends on how dug in you are on either side, doesn't it?
It really does. I think a lot of sellers people get personally invested. Like if they were in the house 20 years, they're like, my house how dare you say that my house is has all these problems. And it's just, I'm like, this is a business transaction. No one is digging you, but people get very personally insulted by the inspection reports. And the inspectors, they really are they are scary reports, but the inspectors just report in the news.
Right.
And it's their obligation, their license on the line to report everything, even if something as silly as something is loose and it's oh, you just literally take a screwdriver and tighten it, but it's going to say on there that the light switch cover was loose. Right.
So this leads me to, it's getting to sound, if we got a 15% I'm getting out rate, it also sounds like maybe we're in a little bit different market now too, in terms of the relationship. I think you mentioned to me before the show, it's been a little more adversarial. Let's talk about what that looks like when you say it's an adversarial type thing that you're seeing more of. Right now.
I mean, like I said, I called this happy law for the longest time because everybody was on the same team, even buyers and sellers. I think just the nature of the world even makes it a more adversarial thing. It seems like we're fighting with each other as opposed to working together. And I see the agents that are the great agents shield the clients from maybe any sort of talk that shouldn't be. Because like you said, people get insulted by the inspection report, things like that. So it's how you approach the transaction that will make the difference. Because as soon as we get to the point that one side made the other mad or this or that, and it can blow up the whole thing. And that's where the professionals in it have to be the voice of reason, the level head, and kind of guide it into the proper direction. That we're not trying to hurt your feelings. We literally just want to make sure that the roof isn't leaking. The structural engineer coming in there, it's fine. I had surveyors call me because they went out to the property to survey the property, and a seller came out and was like, "Get off my land. You're not allowed out here." And the surveyor was like, "I literally was hired to measure the lot." It's wild.
There is another thing I think that confuses people in the way we do closings here, is that we have a mortgage lender says, okay, everything's signed. And then we have, well, that doesn't mean we're ready to close. Let's talk about that for a second.
I call it the clear to close versus ready to close kind of dynamic. Everybody wants to hear the phrase clear to close. Clear to close means we've got through underwriting. Your loan is approved. I'm not going to ask you for any more pay stubs. Everything is good. We are giving you this money to buy this house. Everybody wants to hear that. But all that does for someone like me is mean that, all right, cool, we're moving forward. You might get the clear to close 2 weeks before closing. That does not mean that we can close in 5 hours. I have people call me, "Oh, the lender said I'm clear to close. Can we close tomorrow?" I'm like, your settlement date's 2 weeks from now. Hard no. Not understanding what that means. And it really, the difference is that once you have the clear to close, it goes from the underwriting department to the closing department with the lender. And then it's a whole different group of people working on the file. Then those people now are balancing the closing statement with us, generating the loan package, all of those things. And as a consumer buyer, real estate agent, you're talking to the loan officer and maybe sometimes a few processors along the way. The agent, the buyer, they don't even talk to the closing department. The closing department only talks to me. And I personally don't typically talk to anybody during underwriting. That's specifically between the buyer and the lender. I join in the back end when we get everything ready to close. And so it's just that kind of understanding the language and the nuances. And because I can't tell you how many people call me and they're like, "I'm clear to close. See you tomorrow." It's like, no, don't drive here.
Don't come right now, please. So here's the other issue that comes up is that, okay, all right, maybe we understand the difference between clear to close, ready to close. But then we get to the closing. And the first question that the buyer has is, okay, we've closed with you, Cara. Keys?
Yeah. If we're done signing papers, where are the keys? And North Carolina is what's called a race state. So there are some states that when you sign, you're done. And signing means everything, and it may record with the county days, weeks later. And because that doesn't matter. The date on the signature of the deed and the documents is all that matters. And you actually do get the keys as long as the money's in. North Carolina as a race state, it's a race to the courthouse. Like you have to, whoever records first. There must have been something hundreds of years ago, whatever, to where like people would take multiple deeds to the courthouse and whoever got there first, it was like, this is my land type of thing. So we have to be on record with the county. And that's when the ownership actually transfers from seller to buyer. And that's when you get keys. Because until that's recorded, the seller still owns it. So if I gave keys at the table and I recorded the next day and the house burned down overnight, it wasn't the buyer's house that burnt down. It was the seller's house still because it wasn't on record with the county. So there was just a number of things that happen after you're done signing. Recording can take place within an hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. It just depends on a lot of different factors because you might be waiting for money. We might not have the lender's wire. We might be waiting on signed documents from the seller to come in. The lenders a lot of times require what's called funding authorization, meaning they want to see every document the buyer signed. So we have to scan it to them. They have to review it and then give us the thumbs up to record. And then even though we electronically record, I don't think God drive to the courthouse anymore every day. Everything's electronic. It's still human to human. I'm submitting to the county documents that a human at the county is reviewing and then putting them on record. Bigger counties like Wake County, Durham County, the recording time with e-recording tends to be quick, like 15 minutes to 30 to 45 minutes on a not hugely busy day. And then there's smaller counties that if I submitted at noon, they're on lunch.
Right.
I might record in 2 hours. Or like counties, there are counties that say if you don't submit by a certain time that they won't guarantee it gets recorded that day. Right. So we have to wait for all of those things to happen. So that's the other thing is that people start calling me like literally walked out of my office 30 minutes ago and they're like, we on record yet? I'm like, literally my scanner doesn't even scan your documents.
Right.
Like, no, you're not. Go eat. Like, have a good day.
So advice here would be, don't close at 4 o'clock on a Friday.
No. Definitely don't do that. Please don't come to my office with your moving truck and just be like, hey, no, let's not do that either. Like, plan to move in the next day. If you have to move in same day, close first thing in the morning, just like set proper expectations. The morning close is going to probably give you the best opportunity to make sure everything's recorded so that you can move in, at least the next day. That's going to give you the best opportunity. Also, this is a piece of advice that I think I've learned over the course of the years, and that is, if you don't have to wait to the end of the month. Oh my gosh, yes. I think that's like, I don't know where that started, where every agent's like wants to close at the end of the month. The only perk of closing at the end of the month is if you are financing, you're going to bring less money to the closing table because you pay daily interest on your loan monthly. So essentially you're paying a little less daily interest. But then so you close October 31st. You paid essentially 1 day's interest on October.
Right.
And then you won't have a mortgage payment November. Your first payment's December 1. So you get 1 month free. Think if you close October 1st, you might have paid interest through October, bringing a little bit more money to the table, but your first payment still isn't until December. So you still have 2 months, no mortgage. I encourage people to close at the beginning of the month. I think it's way better. But for some reason, I have no idea why that's just a thing. People just think, I have to close at the end of the month.
It has been that way since I've been in real estate, since the 90s. Is that it seems the most common thing is close at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, and by the way, that's helpful information, right? People are trying to save a little bit of money, and we're not talking significant amounts.
It's not a significant amount of money, no. Like you're not saving that much money to where, like I would rather have the 2 months no mortgage payments, full 2 months, than 1 month no mortgage and close the last day of the month.
It just makes more sense.
It drives my family crazy because they're always like, let's go on vacation on like the last. I was like, I can't go on the vacation the last week of the month. What do you think I do? And they're always like, this is the stupidest thing. And I'm like, I know. Yeah, I'm aware.
But it happens. And so here's an encouragement for all of you, right? Close earlier in the month. Don't wait till the late afternoon on a Friday, regardless of what day that is. And that'll give you the best. That will give you the best opportunity to do that. So I know that with this whole adversarial what'd you call it? Something City,
Termination
Termination City. I know that you have had to have a story or two where things closed or were supposed to close and something happened where all of a sudden things aren't going right. Share a story or two about where things can kind of just get off the rails a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that we see most often is when you go to your final walkthrough, be it the night before, the morning of, and the house is just wrecked.
Do we see that a lot?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah. And it makes me sad because as like a seller, like I've sold houses,
Right.
you want to give that buyer something. Like, I mean, I just would be embarrassed, I think, if I left the house in a wreck. But our contract says the house just needs to be, I think it's broom swept and
Yes,
clean.
that's right. That's what it
So
says.
it's something so vague, but also like what's broom swept mean?
I don't know.
Like people leave stuff in their refrigerators, like just trash everywhere. And it's sad. And as a buyer, you're so excited for your final walkthrough to go to closing day. You might are bringing your kids for the first time to see it because they're going to be moving in and you see that. It's just like a real buzzkill. So like people get to the table and they're just upset. And unfortunately, there's not really much leverage you can do. I've said most recently to some agents I work with that the one piece of advice that I give them is it's only going to take one closing where you get there and the house is a wreck, that you will forever, when you make an offer on a house, write in that the house needs to be professionally cleaned before closing. So it's something that agents can write into the contract in an additional provisions addendum that just they want the house professionally cleaned prior to closing. So you don't have to walk into that again. Because unfortunately, the situations most recently, it ends up being the agents who end up eating the cost of the cleaner because the seller's like, screw it, I'm out. The contract says I don't have to do it. The buyer is crying at the table and the agent just wants to make them happy. Sometimes the listing agent goes to the house and goes, oh my God, my seller did that, and try to make it right. That's what I see the most often is just the dirty house. And I call it house karma because I'm like, they're selling, they're probably buying too. I hope the house that they're buying is a wreck because you get what you give. Like it's just
house karma. Okay. You've got some great terms. I'm just going to say, Cary, you got some great terms. So you shared a story with me, a situation where everything closed and all of a sudden they got their moving truck, they're ready to move in, and something bad happened. Let's talk about that situation and where that fits in.
Yeah, it was clients who were moving from out of state and all of their stuff was in their moving truck. They needed to get in that day. Sometimes, like most of the time, clients sign with me after they've done the walkthrough. Sometimes they sign and then say, hold off recording. We're going to go quickly check the house and then we'll give you authorization to record. Because like we said, we're a race state. Signing means nothing. Recording means everything. I can shred the documents if you change your mind after you walk out the door. So they went to the house after they signed and the roof leaked. And great that it leaked before it was theirs because it's the seller's problem to fix. But when all of your stuff is in moving trucks, all like your life is literally just all sitting there, they desperately needed to get into the house. So we got really creative really fast and did a lot of things where we got contractors out there, got the cost, we collected the money to pay that contractor from the seller on the settlement statement. I quickly drafted a post-closing agreement because with the contract itself, anything with the contract, as soon as you close, dies. So it's not enforceable post-closing. So we had to create something that was enforceable post-closing that basically just said this contractor was coming in to fix this. If the cost ended up being more than what the estimate was, seller was solely responsible. It had to be done in such and such days. And it was just a way to kind of make everyone happy because the seller also, I believe the seller was buying not that day, but maybe a day or two later. So the seller needed their proceeds, buyer needed in the house. So many things were kind of in line. So being creative on the fly, everyone thinking it through, working together. And like, so that's the kind of fun stuff. One of the best stories I have of crazy people, like just things happening at the last minute. I had a client who came to closing, and was livid. And it wasn't because the house was dirty. The grass was high. So we had high grass, and there were two things missing. TV brackets, the ones that are mounted to the wall.
Yeah.
Those are fixtures. They have to stay.
Right.
We get that. The sellers took them. Okay. It's a TV bracket.
Okay.
And then a clothesline, which is a piece of rope.
Right.
So like
yeah.
literally in the backyard, there was rope and it was a clothesline. They took the rope with them. So my client refused to close. Like he was like, I want the grass cut, I want the clothesline black, and I want the TV bracket. The agent was like, dude, I'll buy you a TV bracket. Like, what are we doing here? I'll have somebody come out and cut the grass. Like, this doesn't have to happen. He refused to close. He goes, what do I have? What leverage do I have? You're my attorney. Tell me what I can do. Be my bulldog. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm fighting a battle over grass. Okay. And a clothesline, this is why I went to law school and I've earned my degree today. So I'm like, I go and I'm fighting this battle to get the grass cut. We end up, it was raining. So the grass couldn't be cut for a day or two, but the seller's like, whatever, we'll cut the grass. They were in Georgia. We'll mail back the clothesline. The listing agent bought a TV mount, and we closed like 2 days later. And at the closing table, my buyer was like, I want lost wages. I want pain and suffering. I was like, this is not like, we're not in court. This isn't like, I can't get you lost wages because you decided not to close over a piece of rope. Like, this is like, why are we doing this? Yeah, it was just like, sometimes I'm like, my client's the bad guy. And like, I'm on the wrong side of this fight. Yeah.
Okay. Cut grass, a bracket, and a piece of rope.
Yeah.
Okay. So things can go off the rails in this area, but that's not typical.
It's not the norm. I mean, one other funny story I'll tell you real quick is I had this client who there was a blueberry bush, a very beautiful blueberry bush at the property. The seller, after we're under contract, tells the buyer that they want to take the blueberry bush with them. And that's not something that's normal.
Right.
So the buyer's like, no, the only reason I'm buying this house is because of the blueberry bush. I'm like, okay, sure, that's not real, but okay. And then the seller said it's a sentimental blueberry bush. She used to pick blueberries with her father who has passed away, and it's sentimental to her, and she needs the blueberry bush. So we fought for maybe a week over a blueberry bush. And if I heard the word blueberry bush one more time, I was going to like jump off the nearest bridge. So I was like, no. So finally we came to an agreement. They were going to remove the blueberry bush, plant a new one. The sentimental one was going to go, and we were going to plant a new one.
Okay.
Of course, it was not blueberry bush rehoming season.
Oh, no.
We couldn't move it so it couldn't happen at closing. So it's not blueberry bush rehoming season. That's 6 months from now. So the seller has to come back to the house in 6 months, take the blueberry bush, all the things. So I'm now drafting a post-closing agreement for a blueberry bush. And I was just like, this is my nightmare. And we ended up getting it all squared away. The documents were in place. Everybody ended up being happy, whatever. My favorite part about the story, though, was the real estate agent brought me blueberry vodka to closing. And I was like, it was so needed. I was like, we're taking shots. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So when we think about this whole closing process, what great stories, by the way. When we think about this whole closing process, typically it comes off pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, for the most part, we don't have very many of those stories. They're rare, very rare that we have those stories. What do you find the most gratifying about doing the closing work that you do? What do you find most gratifying?
I mean, it brings me so much joy. Like, that's why I do it, because for every 5 people that, like we said, or yell at us or mean, rude, make no sense, like have all the problems, when I'm sitting at the table with like a first-time home buyer or somebody who never thought in a million years they could afford to buy a house and scrape the money together, the single mom who divorced and now can afford to buy a house on her own, never thought she could. It I can't tell you, me and I'll have all females that work in my office. Like there's so many times that we cry when they're leaving and we're like hugging the clients. We're like, oh my God, like you just feel like a part of somebody's big story. And it's to be that little small part in something that means so much to them. It's why it is Happy Law, because I can tell you stories for days about the person who's 65 years old and first time generation home buyer. Like no one in their family has ever owned a home. And it's one of those things that you just see and you feel special and lucky to be a part of their story.
And there's so many more of those feel good stories than there are of the other stories.
Yeah. The other ones are more fun to talk about because they're hilarious, but the feel good ones are the ones that,
And that happens. And I think for people who are moving into the Research Triangle Park area, we don't want you to be afraid of the closing process, because we have people like you who are on top of it. They're going to guide you all the way through the way. They're going to be in your corner. Like Cara is going to be.
I'll fight to get your grass cut
and even a piece of rope. But I think, to reassure those folks that, listen, the closing process is different. It's not impossible. It's not really all that difficult because you're running the show and you know what to expect. She even can be agile in knowing what not to expect and has been able to navigate those, which is why we tell those stories, by the way, is because she's been able to navigate those things. So I think it's really important for you to know that it's really generally goes off without a hitch. Typically does. Yeah. I did get a comment about why maybe closings are at the end. And it's from Patrick. And he says renters will double play closing early in the month. So if they that's a
good point. Yeah. So if you are renting and so if you don't want to pay, well, you would be paying interest on your loan for the month and your rent for that month.
Yeah.
So that could be a reason why people like the end of the month. Yeah. That might have been the thought process way back when that never changed.
Yeah. But it's, I thought that does make sense when I saw it and I says up there, I go, so thank you, Patrick, for bringing that to us, because that does help us understand that a little bit more, because I didn't think about through that.
No.
I would have to pay a whole month of rent.
And I'm paying interest for the month of October on my loan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. All right. Okay, you made great sense. But please, if you can avoid it, we're asking you to not wait to the end of the month, for sure. The other thing we would like to, and yes, Patrick, thank you again for that. We appreciate that. But we would recommend closing earlier. Don't wait till the afternoon.
Yes, don't wait till the afternoon if you can handle it.
Yeah.
Like I pretty much guarantee recording in most situations, as long as you close before like 2 p.m.
Right.
Our holdup is that the county closes. Most counties cut off e-recording around 4:30. Some counties, like I believe it's Chatham or Orange, it's 4:00, so that's tough. And then there's some counties like Wake that go till 4:45.
Yeah.
So once that county cutoff time is done, we're done.
Yeah.
So the later you close, the less likelihood the timing just is not going to work out in our favor.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this with you. It's so much fun. You got tons of energy too, by the way. Just wanted to say, of all the guests I've had on the show, maybe the most energetic guest I've ever.
It's the cheerleading experience.
I guess it is. Because by the way, she coaches cheerleading. I don't know if you know that. She does that as well. How can people get a hold of you to talk to you and say, hey, listen, I'm buying a house. I haven't chosen an attorney yet.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you, Cara Gibbons.
Yes.
About maybe being my attorney. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. I always say like #close with Cara, because that's what you should do. But you can so I'm Sterling Law Apex. You can Google that. We're in downtown Apex. We're right on Salem Street, which is historic downtown, which is super fun. We love to send people to all the great restaurants and coffee shops right on Salem Street after they close. I give out free little ice cream cards. So you can go get ice cream at Fresh Ice Cream after you close while you're waiting for your keys. But my Email address is cgibbons@sterlingclosings.com. Emailing is great. You can call the office. I have people slide into my DMs, which is fine. It makes me feel cool. You could do that. Follow me on Instagram or Facebook.
She just said slide into my DMs.
You would not be surprised how many people do that.
No, I
like asking for legal advice too, which is the wildest thing. I'm like, this is like so unprofessional, but like, here's my email, just email it to me.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, that's fine. But it's fun. I bring it upon myself because I put a lot of myself on social media between work stuff, silly reels that I do, or just my child, I'm not cringe yet. So my child wants to do, she's an 11-year-old girl. She likes to do dance videos with me.
Right.
So
Yep.
I do that a lot with her.
She does.
Yes. And my daughter's a star of the show. She makes me audition for all of them. So please know that there was an audition process. There's certain ones that she's like, no, Mom, you're not doing that one. So, but like you said too, I coach 37 little cheerleaders in Fuquay Arena with the town, volunteer my time with them. They're amazing. Our boys are going to the championship. So I'm super excited to cheer for the championship. So we have a lot going on with that. But the best way to get in touch with me is really just to email me, call the office. Our office line is 919-769-1300. And again, we're Sterling Law Apex. Sterling Law is huge though. We have a lot of locations.
Yep.
I run the Apex branch. We have a branch in Raleigh near Crabtree Mall. We have a branch in Clayton. We have a branch in Cary, and we also have Durham. So it's one of those things that we can help you all over the triangle. And I can't say enough good things about Sterling Law and what we have to offer.
So let's see. Let me make sure I memorized this correctly, right? 919-769-1300.
That's right. You did.
Did I do that?
Uh-huh.
Did I get all 10 numbers correct?
You did.
I did. All right. So make sure you give her a call, and it's C Gibbons at Sterling Closings with an S.com. SterlingClosings.com. Contact her. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah, stay with me for a second. Hey, folks, you know what? You got a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you doing that. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching us there. If you're listening to us via podcast, which I know so many of you do, give us a 5-star review. Tell your friends. It's always really helpful for us as we continue to grow the show. And, we're in a lot of countries too, by the way. So we're not just local. People listen to us from all over the world. If you want to be a guest, if you think you have something to contribute to real estate, we'd love to have you talk to me. You can just reach out to me at j@lindacraft.com. We'd love to do that as well and bring you on the show. So with that said, you know what I say to you everywhere, and you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.